Coming to America just seemed to be...
Coming to America.
Great film.
Great film. America just seemed amazing. Watch on the airplane.
Came to America watching Coming to America. We've played in Los Angeles 3 times now. No, we haven't.
We have.
Have we?
Yeah.
3 times.
3 times, 1, 2, 3.
The last show we played sold out, and it was tremendous fun.
Yeah, the crowds have been amazing. I think that's the kind of greatest thing about the US tour that we've just finished playing. You know, I think that we expected it to be a little bit more difficult than it turned out being. You know, I mean, all the shows were full, and all the people that came to the shows were really into it and really up for it. And I think that gives the band a much more easy ride. You know, it kind of just allows you to do what you want to do. You know, have a level of intimacy with people when they're open to a band like that. And then the Troubadour the other night was just kind of like, it was the second last show of the tour, so it was just us sort of realising that we were close to the end and we could just have a good time sort of thing, really. The audience were really up for it, you know. I mean, it was a good night, really, really good time.
We sing in our own accents, you know, and our accents could only exist if we came from Sunderland, you know. But then again, if we were from Birmingham, we'd probably be the same. No, but I think the thing about Sunderland is that there's not a great deal to do. People who are really kind of bored and desperate for something to do, if they happen to be into music, you know, they're going to be pretty focused on it, you know. I mean, we are a prime example of that, I would say. One of the bands who's really got it together. I used to get really excited when we used to play shows in the early days because I felt like we were just doing something special, you know, in front of like your friends in like a cricket club or Eagle Bar, because there aren't any proper venues in Sunderland at all.
There's nought to do there at all.
Like, there's 500,000 people live there, and there isn't even a cinema at the minute.
I think it's getting better though.
It's been gradually getting
Because we're never there.
If the least you can do is show some restraint, and the most you can do is get carried away.
The writing process has changed quite drastically over the past 4 years, you know. We used to rehearse without a PA, like without a vocal PA, because we didn't have one. So we used to rehearse a couple of songs instrumentally.
The fact that we didn't have a PA, the shouting aspect of it meant that was the only way we were communicating in the first place. So
we didn't originally set out to have 4 singers. It wasn't like I rang Rossett and went, do you want to form a band, and we're going to do this, and we're going to eventually get a record deal. But we were just messing around in my garage, basically. The 4-part harmony thing came about when we realised that maybe we should all sing.
Try and make as much noise as we could, I think, really.
We've just started because there's so many things you can do with harmonies. And
Absolutely.
It's great fun to be in a harmony group.
What you see, what you like. If you work it out, tell me what you find. We can have a few decent days.
The majority of the videos that we've made involve us in some sort of environment, throwing ourselves around a little bit or dancing about. So, I mean, you know, there isn't really, I mean, you know, there are various settings or whatever, and there are like slight concepts to each of them. It's something that we care about, but not in the sense that, I mean, it's a totally different realm to making music, you know. I think that we feel like we have to have some sort of basis in knowledge about making a video before we can come to someone and say, this is what we want to do and this is how we're going to do it, you know.
You just got to find people that you have trust in, pay a director to come up with the idea, just like got to let them do that part of it, and you just do whatever you need to do so they can realise what they're trying to create, you know.
It's nice to have someone else's like ears in on something, you know, like when you're making a record, if you don't produce it yourself, you work with someone else, and it's always good to kind of have them there as an outside element that kind of can view things from a different perspective.
There's a nervous moment when you really treat it, it's like, is this going to make me look like a fool? Or something. But it's like,
What do I have to pretend to be?
We're doing a video with puppies like today. It's probably going to look great, you know. It's like it's a weird
kind of feeling
weird thing.
someone else having an idea that you would never have thought of, and doing it well, and that makes all that kind of nervousness about.
We started making videos quite early on, I think. We made 3 videos before we made our album. You know, like, oh, let's go make another video.
Quite the multimedia.
Like going into going into shops with your girlfriend in Sunderland and like you walk past a huge screen and your face is on it.
Loads of people coming up here in the street. I saw you on the telly in Top Man. Did you? Trying on some shirts and that. It was really good. Whatever.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
A to B.
We made a video for that one. It was set in a spaceship.
We all wear paper suits.
Paper suits.
I've got a massive beard.
Yeah. Ross has got a beard.
I'm a bit dramatic, so I get knocked out by aliens.
Halfway through the video, the control room of the spaceship, that was actually built in someone's backyard in London on Great Ormond Street. It fills up with smoke, we all pass out, and then a sprite, a little light creature, flicks around all over our faces, and then we come round for the just in time for the chorus. It ends like that, and we're all kind of driving the spaceship.
Tapping things into the wall, you know, working stuff out, doing quantum physics type stuff. Chaos.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good one. It was a good one. And it's basically a song about my laziness and laziness of people around us. Everyone's lazy at times.
So Meantime was my favourite.
Meantime.
Meantime was a lot of fun to do.
It looks great as well.
Yeah.
Meantime, the video we did with a guy called Sam Arthur, it looks great. Basically, we end up getting completely surrounded by telephone cables because we're all walking around with telephones, all different colours, and in the room, it's like it ends up looking like I don't know if you got that program here, Crystal Maze. See, I'm trying to think of something. It basically ends up the room is completely intertwined with cables, and we cut them down, and then by the end there's just a big pile of curly cables on the floor. It just looks really good. The song is basically about having awkward conversations with people, going to nightclubs in Sunderland and hanging out with your mates, you know, your good friends that you spend all night with, but then every now and then you'll end up in some conversation with someone you don't really know very well, but you go out all the time, so you see them and you kind of eventually somehow become friends with them, and you end up talking to them for like hours, and you probably don't like them and they probably don't like you. I like First Day. We've all got prosthetic limbs. My microphone is on a false hand, and that hand is on a drill, and it's like extended your hand, so they've made these like, we're all in like laboratory jackets and playing like this. Every now and then I press the button and the hand spins round and goes back, and like this.
I had to play drums with no arms. I had to grab onto these like pole things to hit the copper pipe.
Times like that, it's times like that you can really strap yourself lucky. You've got arms, isn't it?
Exactly. Strapped to a chair.
I used to work for a bank in a call centre, and it was basically my whole opinion on that part of my life. I wasn't into it, and they were trying to get me to sell loans to people who I knew didn't need them.
Decent days.
One of the last songs we wrote for the album, when we were struggling to create our masterpiece.
That's it. It was the one that broke the camel's back, like, and we're just so glad that we ended up getting that right, like, to be honest.
Once we nailed that, we knew that everything was going to be fine.
It's one of the only songs on the record that's got a riff to it, and it's the monster riff.
It's riff-tastic. It's basically kind of a riddle, but contradict yourself immediately by going, this is a brand new problem. A problem without any clues. If you know the clues, it's easy to get through.
Well, there you go.
If there aren't any clues, then how can you know them?
Therein lies the mystery about the story.
That's the riddle part of it. But I didn't realise that until after.
That's our attempt at being an enigmatic rock band.
When Dave first joined the band, he was only like 16, you know, and he used to come down to London and be really naturally coming from Sunderland, and then all of a sudden you're in a band playing shows in London, and there's loads of insane people in London, and he used to get really freaked out and like really worried.
It was just crazy like that. Is that song about me, is it? Mm-hmm. Oh.
It's basically just saying like, Dave, you know, like you're in the big city. If you decide whether or not it's going to benefit you, you know, if you're going to let it get on top of you, then you might regret that, so just be strong about it. And look at you now.
You know, look at us now.
Giant of a man.
In Los Angeles.
And you're all in the City
Not
Lane.
crying.
Not crying, not freaking out,
I
and
didn't cry. Just freaked out. I never used to cry.
Drummer.
Close to tears, like.
We did a squad tour of Germany in what year was it? 2001. I made a mixtape for the van. It was alphabetical because I'm a geek. So we had AC/DC on first, and then Kate Bush, Hans Love was second. Remember the bass player in the band we were away with was like, "Oh, we need to cover this song." We were all just sitting in the backside thinking, "We'll do it first." We got back from this like great tour. Barry worked out all the chords and brought into rehearsal. And
straight away.
Straight away the next day, we lashed the vocal intro on the start, and we did it at a gig that week. And I remember that band turned up and like,
In your face.
we're going to do a cover night.
So we did it cheeky. Basically, did it because we're competitive.
And I like to win.
Jeff likes to win.
No, but
It became like a kind of a massive part of our live set because it's like a total contradiction for a punk band to cover Kate Bush anyway, and to do it. I think we've made it our own. Like, we certainly stamped our identity all over it. Her version is infinitely better, of course. We're not afraid of doing covers. A lot of bands are, but like it's an important way to learn by doing other people's songs. The thing is, we have the album now that we can like take around the world and say this is our efforts, this is our contribution.
Yeah, rather than like assuring people that one day we will make a record,
Yeah.
we've actually got it in front of us this time.
momentum behind Germany, it's just impossible for us to stop now. We just have to tour this record everywhere. It's just like, it's going to be crazy, but it's what we always wanted on it. So.
Indeed.